The video games industry has grown in epic proportions ever since my childhood, but what began with simple entertainment has grown into a billion-pound industry. With its great success came a long shitstorm of negative press from the media. For example, here we are faced with the infamous game Grand Theft Auto, a controversial third-person shooter revolving around a gangster's life. On July the 21st, 2010, the Daily Star published an article about the game, previous to its release, stating that the next edition will be based around the Royal Moat killings. The Daily Star released an article calling it Grand Theft Auto Rothbury. This is what they said, and I quote, "We made no attempt to check the accuracy of this story before publication. It's an absolute disgrace." I talked to some people in the know to ask why the media has a strong bias against games.
Over the years, I think it's fair to say that there's been a pretty distorted view of the games industry from the media.
We know that all the research shows that violence has a desensitizing effect. Well, sexuality does too.
Yeah, that's completely incorrect. First of all, you can actually play as a man or a woman in the game. Cooper, have you ever played Mass Effect?
No.
People who criticise games have probably never played a game. They haven't grown up with them. They haven't understood the social, the cultural and the economic significance of games.
10 years ago, it was all about raves and ecstasy. And 20 years ago, it was about joyriding. And 30 years ago, it was about something else. 40 years ago, it was cannabis. 50 years ago, it was rock and roll. The minute, it's games.
If you went to the cinema and watched a violent movie, that was fine. But if you were playing a violent video game, somehow that meant that it was having an influence potentially on your actions.
Not only is there bad press, gamers are also faced with stereotypes, one of the most prolific being that they are mostly loners sitting in their bedrooms. Recently I went to Wildren to attend a social gaming event known as a LAN, which is where gamers come together to socialise and play over the same network. Over the past few years, this stereotype seems to have faded slightly, but as you may not know, there is still a much bigger picture.
A LAN is essentially a gathering of people who want to come together and generally play games over a network. It was born out of the idea from many years ago where we didn't have the internet, and if you wanted to play with other people you needed to have your PCs next to each other and on a LAN to be able to actually engage in gaming with other people. So that was where the idea came from, and it's just grown from, in a lot of cases, people starting in their bedrooms with a couple of mates around to large-scale events abroad into the regions of tens of thousands of people sometimes. Huge events.
The best non-gaming metaphor is it's your mates at the football team. You trust them. You have to put a lot of trust in these people, otherwise you fail. You trust the goalkeeper's going to there, you trust your striker's going to kick the ball that way. So you learn that these people are your friends. You've never met them, but they are very, very good friends. Friends that you know, to a degree, you've died for, because you've died for them 100 times every night.
Much more casual, much more relaxed. People come down, they bring their friends, and they have a much more relaxed gaming time. There's still competitions, but there's no prizes, there's no air of professionalism in terms of the actual gaming that goes on. But it's more about the social aspect.
You know, the first times I went to the events, I was just so happy to come back. Had this awesome sense of like, oh, I found somewhere with people of similar interests.
It's quite nice to be able to shout at the person who's just killed you, or congratulate them if they're on your team. You know, rather than just typing it, it adds a slightly different flavour to the proceedings.
It's far more fun than playing online, for me personally. What about you?
Yeah, it's me too. You can see them and we can all organize game a lot faster than playing online.
Putting it simply, LAN parties is where friends come together to play games. So we've looked into the social side of gaming, but what happens when the stakes are raised? Game tournaments are where gamers test their skills for cold hard cash, with some prizes hitting $1 million.
Each player has defeated the other 3 times in the course of this BlizzCon tournament today, and everything comes down to one final match for $50,000.
Dusko's have been taken down. Sonic, every class is, oh my god, there comes Infused! Are they going to be able to do it? They got it! Infused is going to win, according to
20 seconds left on the clock, and they get it.
Fucking see ya, you wankers!
Today it went very well. We woke up with the right attitude. We were all here quite nice and early, so we were ready. We had a bit of a change of setups. That was due to the positioning we were against the other team. We were very close to them, and so we wanted to move so we could talk a bit more freely because they could hear what we were saying. As for the last 2 days, we've been shockingly bad, to be honest. We've underperformed massively. We don't think that we've performed to our full potential.
These days it is possible for professional gamers to make a living purely from playing games, but it depends on several factors. The main one being whether or not you're good enough, another one being what game you play. Things like StarCraft at the moment are really taking off. 2011 was a huge year for esports, and it was driven very much by games like StarCraft. So it's starting to spread, and gamers are actually being able to earn livings, and there's a lot of teams now that pay salaries to retain their gamers, and they can make livings out of going around the world and winning tournaments. I think there's a couple of the Korean players last year that were top Korean StarCraft players. I think that we're on between 100 and 150,000 pounds for the year's takings just playing StarCraft.
In order to try and save him in this game, it's not happening. GG, ladies and gentlemen, a 4-2 win.
As you can see, games have the potential for individuals to make money. But can games actually do more?
This is the origin of the English seaside town. People have been coming here to play, and playing in the 21st century is video gaming. So it makes sense as a sector to bring it here. But it's more important than that, because what it allows us to do is play in the winter. And what we need to do is we need to challenge the seasonality of this town, because it can no longer make enough for the people who live and work here to only work through the summer months. So we have to have something that addresses the seasonality of the seaside town. So let's take playing 21st century style and do it in the middle of winter.
I think this is a great thing, this event, Geek 12, because it shows that it's family inclusive. It's content for young and old, male and female. They're socially inclusive. They're very much part of our culture, of what we do intuitively, the way we behave. You know, games help define us as who we are as human beings.
The idea of bringing together a huge event in Margate to celebrate the town, to regenerate the town. We get so many people coming and enjoying the social interaction of talking and playing with real gamers face to face. It shows that it's not dead.
The people that we have met over the course of this film meet none of these insulting stereotypes. It's an interesting world of competition and socialising, and it's also regenerating our industries. So the next time you read a story in the news, think about what we've shown you.